Marcus wiped the sweat from his forehead as he pulled the delivery truck up to the apartment complex on Maple Street. The GPS had led him through 3 wrong turns, and he was already running 20 minutes behind schedule. His supervisor at Comfort Home Furniture would not be happy if he got another complaint about late deliveries. He checked the delivery slip again. Sarah Chen, apartment 3B, queen-size memory foam mattress and bed frame. The order notes mentioned she was a nurse who worked night shifts, so deliveries had to be scheduled carefully around her sleep schedule. Marcus had called twice yesterday to confirm the 2 p.m. time slot would work for her. The apartment building looked decent enough. Red brick with white trim, well-maintained gardens out front. Marcus had been delivering furniture for 6 months now, ever since he lost his construction job when the housing market slowed down. The work was steady, and his boss, Mr. Peterson, treated him fairly, but some days felt longer than others. He climbed out of the truck and opened the back doors. The mattress was wrapped in thick plastic, and the bed frame came in 4 separate boxes. This would take at least 2 trips, maybe 3. Marcus grabbed his hand truck and loaded the mattress first. The thing weighed at least 80 pounds, but he had gotten used to moving heavy furniture. The building had no elevator, which meant carrying everything up 2 flights of stairs. Marcus sighed and started the climb. By the time he reached the 3rd floor, he was breathing harder than he liked to admit. Maybe he should start going to the gym like his sister kept suggesting. Apartment 3B had a small welcome mat with sunflowers on it. Marcus knocked 3 times and waited. He could hear footsteps inside, then the sound of someone looking through the peephole. "Delivery from Comfort Home," he called out. The door opened, and Marcus found himself looking at a woman with long black hair pulled back in a messy bun. She wore scrubs with little cartoon cats on them, and her feet were bare. She looked tired but gave him a genuine smile. "You must be Marcus," she said. "I'm Sarah. Sorry, I just got home from work about an hour ago." "No problem at all," Marcus replied. "I've got your mattress here, and there are still 3 boxes downstairs for the bed frame. Where would you like me to set everything up?" Sarah stepped aside to let him in. The apartment was small but cozy. The living room had a navy blue couch with colorful throw pillows, and plants sat on every available surface. The walls were covered with photographs. Some looked like family pictures, others showed mountains and beaches. "The bedroom is right through there," Sarah pointed down a short hallway. "I cleared out all the old furniture yesterday. Fair warning, though, it's pretty empty in there right now." Marcus wheeled the mattress through the living room, being careful not to bump into anything. The bedroom was indeed empty except for a small nightstand and a lamp sitting on the floor. The windows faced west, and afternoon sunlight streamed across the hardwood floors. "This is a nice place," Marcus said as he leaned the mattress against the wall. "How long have you been here?" "About 8 months," Sarah replied, leaning against the doorframe. "I moved here when I got the job at City General Hospital. Been sleeping on an air mattress all this time, so this is going to feel like luxury." Marcus laughed. "8 months on an air mattress? You're tougher than I am. I can barely make it through a camping trip on one of those things." "Well, between 12-hour shifts and studying for my nurse practitioner certification, I haven't had much time to furniture shop. Finally decided I needed to invest in proper sleep if I'm going to survive this program." As Marcus headed back downstairs for the bed frame pieces, he found himself thinking about what Sarah had said. He admired people who worked hard to better themselves. His own path had been less focused: community college for a year before dropping out, various jobs that never seemed to lead anywhere. But delivering furniture had taught him a lot about different kinds of people and their stories. The second trip up the stairs was easier since the bed frame boxes were smaller, though there were more of them. Sarah met him at the door again, this time holding a glass of ice water. "Thought you might be thirsty," she said. "It's hot out there today." Marcus accepted the water gratefully. "Thank you. That's very thoughtful." "It's the least I can do. I know this job isn't easy. especially in this heat. As Marcus made his third trip upstairs, he realized Sarah was different from most customers. Usually people just pointed him toward the right room and disappeared until he was finished. Some acted like he was invisible, but Sarah seemed genuinely interested in making sure he was comfortable. Back in the bedroom, Marcus unpacked the bed frame pieces and spread them out on the floor. The instructions showed a modern platform design with built-in storage drawers. It would take about 45 minutes to assemble if everything went smoothly. "This is a nice frame," he said, examining the solid wood pieces. "Good choice. These platform beds are really popular now." Sarah sat cross-legged on the floor nearby, watching him sort through the hardware. "I spent forever researching mattresses and bed frames online. Read probably 100 reviews before deciding on this combination." "Smart approach," Marcus said, finding his electric screwdriver in his tool bag. "I've delivered a lot of furniture, and you can definitely tell the difference between the cheap stuff and quality pieces like this." He started with the side rails, drilling pilot holes before driving in the screws. The wood was solid maple, heavy and well-made. Marcus took his time, making sure each connection was tight and square. "So you've been doing delivery work for a while?" Sarah asked. "About 6 months," Marcus replied. "Before this, I was in construction, but work dried up when the economy got weird. Still hoping to get back into building houses eventually, but this pays the bills for now." "Construction sounds interesting. What kind of houses did you work on?" Marcus paused his drilling for a moment. Most people never asked follow-up questions about his work. "All kinds, really. Started as a general laborer, but I was learning framing and finish carpentry before the layoffs came. There's something satisfying about building something that will last, you know?" "I can understand that," Sarah said. "It's similar to nursing in a way. You're helping create something, maybe not a house, but helping people heal and get stronger." Marcus had never thought about it that way, but she was right. Both jobs involved working with your hands to make something better than it was before. As he continued assembling the bed frame, they talked about all sorts of things. Sarah told him about growing up in California before moving east for nursing school. She asked about his construction experience and seemed genuinely interested in his answers. Marcus found himself relaxing, enjoying the conversation more than he expected. The bed frame came together smoothly. Marcus attached the storage drawers last, making sure they slid easily on their tracks. When he was finished, he and Sarah lifted the mattress onto the frame together. "Perfect," Sarah said, sitting on the edge of the new bed to test it. "Oh, wow, this is so much better than that air mattress." Marcus gathered his tools and put them back in his bag. The whole setup had taken about an hour, but it hadn't felt that long. Usually he was eager to finish deliveries and move on to the next one, but something about Sarah's apartment felt comfortable and welcoming. "Is there anything else you need me to check?" he asked. Sarah stood up from the bed and smoothed down her scrubs. "I think we're all set. Thank you so much for taking your time with everything. Some delivery guys just dump stuff and leave, but you really made sure it was done right." Marcus felt his cheeks warm slightly at the compliment. "Just doing my job." "But I'm glad you're happy with it." They walked back toward the front door together. As Marcus picked up his empty hand truck, Sarah touched his arm lightly. "Wait," she said. "Let me grab your tip." "That's not necessary," Marcus said quickly. "Really." "Don't be silly," Sarah replied, disappearing into the kitchen. She came back with a $20 bill and pressed it into his hand. "You earned it." Marcus started to protest again, but Sarah held up her hand. "I insist. Besides, I have a feeling you're the type of person who would tip well if the situation was reversed." She was right about that. Marcus always tipped delivery drivers and service workers when he could afford it. He knew how much those extra dollars meant. "Thank you," he said sincerely. "I really appreciate it." They stood at the open door for a moment, neither seeming eager to end the conversation. Finally, Marcus realized he needed to get back to his truck before Mr. Peterson started wondering where he was. "I should probably get going," he said. "Got 2 more deliveries this afternoon." "Of course," Sarah said. "Thanks again for everything, Marcus. You made this whole experience really pleasant." As Marcus headed down the stairs, he found himself smiling. Most furniture deliveries were forgettable. Just another address, another customer who barely acknowledged his existence. But something about Sarah had been different. Maybe it was her genuine kindness, or the way she had treated him like a real person instead of just a service provider. He loaded his hand truck into the back of the delivery truck and checked his schedule. Next stop was a recliner delivery across town, then a dining room table to a house in the suburbs. Standard stuff that would probably take the rest of the afternoon. But as Marcus drove away from Sarah's apartment building, he realized he was hoping their paths would cross again somehow. She had mentioned studying to be a nurse practitioner, so she was clearly ambitious and hard-working. The apartment had been full of books and plants, signs of someone who cared about learning and growth. Most importantly, she had been kind to him without any expectation of something in return. In a job where he often felt invisible, that simple human connection had meant more than she probably realized. Marcus turned on the radio and settled in for the drive to his next delivery. But for the first time in weeks, he found himself looking forward to tomorrow instead of just trying to get through today. Sometimes it was funny how a simple interaction could shift your whole perspective, even if you didn't understand why. The afternoon sun was still high in the sky, and Marcus had work to do. But he drove with a lighter feeling in his chest and caught himself humming along to the music playing on the radio. It had been a good day, and he had a feeling it was just the beginning of something even better. 3 weeks after the bed delivery, Marcus was restocking the delivery truck when his phone buzzed with a text message. The number wasn't in his contacts, but the message made him smile immediately. "Hi, Marcus. This is Sarah from the bed delivery. Hope this isn't weird, but I got your number from the receipt. My new bed is amazing. Question, though. One of the storage drawers is sticking. Any chance you could take a look when you have time? Happy to pay for a service call." Marcus read the message twice, his heart beating a little faster. He had thought about Sarah several times over the past few weeks, wondering how she was settling in with her new furniture, but he hadn't expected to hear from her again. He typed back quickly, "Hi, Sarah. Not weird at all. I can swing by after work today if that works. No charge. Just want to make sure everything's working properly." Her response came within minutes. "That would be perfect. I get home from work around 6 p.m. Does 6:30 work?" Marcus checked his delivery schedule. His last stop was usually around 5 p.m., which would give him plenty of time to drive across town to Sarah's apartment. 6:30 sounds great. See you then." The rest of Marcus's workday seemed to drag by, slower than usual. He delivered a couch to a retirement community, helped an elderly couple rearrange their living room furniture, and dropped off a kitchen table at a house where 3 small children tried to help by carrying the chairs. By the time he finished his last official delivery, Marcus was more excited about the evening than he had been about anything in months. He stopped at home to shower and change out of his work uniform. His apartment was nothing special, a 1-bedroom place with basic furniture and not much personality. Looking around, Marcus realized how different it was from Sarah's cozy space with all the plants and photographs. Maybe he should make more of an effort to make his place feel like home. Marcus arrived at Sarah's building right at 6:30, carrying his tool bag and a small bottle of furniture wax he had picked up at the hardware store. The same sunflower welcome mat greeted him when he reached apartment 3B. Sarah answered the door almost immediately, as if she had been watching for him. She was dressed casually in jeans and a soft green sweater, her hair down around her shoulders instead of pulled back like it had been during the delivery. "Marcus, thank you so much for coming," she said, stepping aside to let him in. I hope I didn't interrupt your dinner plans or anything. Not at all, Marcus replied, noticing that the apartment smelled like something delicious was cooking. Actually, you might have saved me from another frozen dinner. Sarah laughed. Well, I made way too much stir-fry if you're interested in staying for dinner after you look at the drawer. I mean, if you want to, I know you probably have other things to do. Marcus felt his smile grow wider. I would love that, actually. Thank you. Great. Let me show you the problem with the drawer first. In the bedroom, Marcus could see that Sarah had made the space her own since his last visit. The walls now had several framed photographs of mountains and forests, and a small bookshelf sat in the corner filled with nursing textbooks and novels. A reading chair by the window had a soft throw blanket draped over one arm. Sarah knelt down and pulled on the bottom drawer of the bed frame. It opened about halfway before stopping with a grinding sound. It was working fine for the first couple weeks, she explained. But lately it's been getting worse. I think maybe something got knocked loose. Marcus set his tool bag down and examined the drawer mechanism. He pulled it out as far as it would go, then carefully removed it from the tracks to inspect the rollers. I see the problem, he said, pointing to one of the metal rollers. This bearing got knocked out of alignment somehow. Probably happened when you were putting things in the drawer. These European hardware systems are great, but they can be finicky about weight distribution. Is it fixable? Definitely, Marcus said, reaching for his screwdriver. Just need to adjust this bracket and realign the roller. Should only take a few minutes. As he worked, Sarah sat on the edge of the bed watching him. Marcus found himself being extra careful with his work, wanting to do a perfect job not just because it was the right thing to do, but because he wanted to impress her. So how do you like the new bed? He asked as he fine-tuned the drawer mechanism. It's been life-changing, Sarah said with a laugh. I had no idea how much my back was hurting from that air mattress until I started sleeping on a real bed again. I actually wake up feeling rested now. That's the whole point, Marcus said, testing the drawer's movement. It glided smoothly now, opening and closing without any resistance. Sleep is too important to compromise on. He reinstalled the drawer and tested it several more times to make sure the fix would hold. Then he pulled out the bottle of furniture wax. I brought this for you, he said. If you wax the tracks every few months, it'll keep everything running smoothly. Just use a soft cloth and a tiny amount. A little goes a long way. Sarah took the bottle, their fingers brushing briefly as she accepted it. That's so thoughtful. You really go above and beyond for customer service. Marcus packed up his tools, feeling pleased with how the repair had gone. All set. That shouldn't give you any more trouble. Perfect, Sarah said. Now, how about that dinner? I hope you like Thai food. They moved to the kitchen, which was small but efficiently organized. Sarah had been cooking in a large wok, and the smell of ginger, garlic, and soy sauce filled the air. She served them both generous portions over steamed rice, and they settled at her small dining table by the window. This is incredible, Marcus said after his first bite. Where did you learn to cook like this? My roommate in nursing school was from Thailand, Sarah explained. She taught me a few recipes in exchange for helping her practice medical terminology in English. I've been experimenting ever since. As they ate, their conversation flowed as easily as it had during the original delivery. Sarah asked about Marcus's other deliveries, and he told her about some of the interesting customers he had met. She shared stories from the hospital, carefully avoiding any patient details, but describing the challenges and rewards of working in emergency medicine. I never thought I'd end up in healthcare, Sarah admitted as they finished eating. I originally went to college for graphic design. What changed your mind? Sarah was quiet for a moment, twirling her fork through the remaining rice on her plate. My dad had a heart attack when I was a sophomore. Spent 3 weeks in the ICU. Watching the nurses take care of him, seeing how much difference they made not just in his physical recovery, but in keeping our whole family calm and hopeful. I realized I wanted to be able to do that for other people. Marcus nodded, understanding. That's a big decision, starting over in a completely different field. It was scary, Sarah said. I had to take all new prerequisite courses, work extra jobs to pay for nursing school, but I've never regretted it. Even on the hardest days, I know I'm where I'm supposed to be. Marcus admired her courage. He had never made such a dramatic life change, never felt that certainty about his purpose. Construction work had been satisfying, but he wasn't sure if it was his true calling or just something he was good at. What about you? Sarah asked. Do you think you'll go back to construction when the market picks up? It was a question Marcus had been avoiding thinking about seriously. I'm not sure, he said honestly. Part of me misses the building aspect, working with my hands to create something permanent. But this delivery job has shown me a different side of work, meeting people, seeing how furniture and homes affect their daily lives. There's value in that too. After dinner, Sarah made coffee, and they moved to the living room. Marcus found himself relaxing completely for the first time in weeks. Sarah was easy to talk to, genuinely interested in his thoughts and experiences. She didn't make him feel like he needed to be someone different or more impressive than who he was. Can I ask you something? Sarah said, as they sat on opposite ends of her couch, coffee mugs in hand. Of course. That day you delivered my bed, you seemed different from other service people I've dealt with. More present, I guess. Like you actually cared about doing good work, not just getting through your list. Marcus felt his cheeks warm. I try to take pride in what I do, even if it's not my dream job. People are trusting me with their homes, their belongings. That means something. It does, Sarah agreed. And it shows. I could tell you were someone who pays attention to details, who cares about treating people well. They talked until almost 10 p.m., when Sarah mentioned she had an early shift the next morning. Marcus reluctantly gathered his things, not wanting the evening to end. Thank you for dinner, he said as they stood by the front door. And for the company. I had a really good time. Me too, Sarah replied. I'm glad the drawer gave me an excuse to see you again. Marcus looked at her for a moment, wondering if he was reading the situation correctly. Sarah seemed to be indicating that she had wanted to see him again, not just get her furniture fixed. The thought made his heart race. Would you maybe like to get dinner sometime? He asked, trying to keep his voice casual. Somewhere where you don't have to do the cooking? Sarah's smile was immediate and bright. I would love that. They exchanged numbers properly this time and made plans for the following Saturday. As Marcus walked down the stairs to his truck, he felt like he was floating. The evening had exceeded his expectations in every way. Driving home, Marcus found himself thinking about the future differently than he had in months. For the first time since losing his construction job, he felt genuinely excited about what might come next. And while he wasn't sure exactly what that would look like, he knew it would somehow include Sarah. The next morning at work, Marcus's co-workers noticed his unusually good mood. Even Mr. Peterson commented that Marcus seemed extra energetic while loading the delivery truck. Marcus just smiled and focused on his work, but inside he was counting down the days until Saturday. He had a feeling his life was about to change in ways he couldn't quite imagine yet, and for the first time in a long while, change felt like exactly what he needed. 6 months later, Marcus was running late for what had become their Saturday morning tradition. He and Sarah met every weekend at Green Bean Coffee, a small cafe halfway between their apartments. What had started as one dinner date had evolved into regular meetings that Marcus looked forward to all week. He pushed through the cafe's front door at 9:15, scanning the room until he spotted Sarah at their usual table by the window. She was reading a thick textbook, her nurse practitioner study materials spread across the table's surface. A large coffee sat cooling beside her elbow. "Sorry," Marcus said, sliding into the chair across from her. "Mr. Peterson called an emergency meeting about new delivery routes. Apparently, corporate wants to expand our coverage area." Sarah looked up from her book with a smile. "No worries. I've been reviewing cardiovascular pathophysiology, so I was productively bored." Marcus signaled to the barista behind the counter, who already knew his order. Large, dark roast with 1 sugar. After 6 months of Saturday mornings here, he had become a regular. "How's the studying going?" he asked, nodding toward the pile of books and notes. "Intense," Sarah said, closing her textbook and stretching her arms above her head. "I have my final clinical rotation starting next month, then the national certification exam in December. If I pass everything, I'll officially be a nurse practitioner by the new year." Marcus felt a swell of pride for her accomplishment. Over the past 6 months, he had watched Sarah balance her regular nursing job with graduate coursework, clinical rotations, and countless hours of studying. Her determination impressed him more each day. "You'll pass," he said confidently. "I've seen how hard you work. You know this stuff better than anyone." "Thanks for the vote of confidence," Sarah replied, reaching across the table to squeeze his hand. "I needed to hear that today." Their relationship had developed gradually over the months. That first dinner had led to a second date, then regular weekend meetings that turned into weekday phone calls and text messages throughout the day. Marcus had met Sarah's parents when they visited from California, and Sarah had joined him for his sister's birthday party last month. But lately, Marcus had been sensing that something was weighing on Sarah's mind. She seemed distracted during their conversations, and he had caught her staring out the window with a worried expression more than once. "Everything okay?" he asked gently. "You seem a little stressed lately, even more than usual with all the studying." Sarah hesitated, then sighed. "I've been meaning to talk to you about something. I got some news yesterday that changes things." Marcus felt his stomach tighten. In his experience, conversations that started this way rarely went well. "What kind of news?" "Remember how I applied for that pediatric nurse practitioner fellowship at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia? The one I mentioned a few weeks ago?" Marcus nodded, though he remembered feeling uneasy when she had first brought it up. The fellowship was extremely competitive and would be a huge career opportunity for Sarah. It was also 300 miles away. "They called yesterday," Sarah continued, her voice careful and measured. "They offered me the position. It's a 2-year program, starts in January." The words hit Marcus like a punch to the chest. He had known this was a possibility, but hearing it made it suddenly, impossibly real. Sarah would be moving away just when their relationship was getting serious. "That's incredible," he managed to say, forcing enthusiasm into his voice. "Congratulations! I know how much you wanted this." Sarah studied his face, clearly seeing through his attempt at happiness. "Marcus, we need to talk about what this means. For us, I mean." Marcus stared down at his coffee cup, trying to process the information. 6 months ago, he had been delivering furniture and wondering if his life would ever amount to anything meaningful. Now he was facing the possibility of losing the best thing that had happened to him in years. "How long have you known this was coming?" he asked quietly. "I applied back in March before things got serious between us," Sarah said. "I never thought I'd actually get accepted. The program only takes 12 fellows nationwide." Marcus understood. Sarah had applied for the fellowship before they had started dating, back when she was just a customer whose bed he had delivered. She couldn't have predicted how their relationship would develop. "I need to give them an answer by Monday," Sarah continued. "And I wanted to talk to you first." They sat in silence for several minutes, the noise of the busy cafe swirling around them. Marcus watched the steam rise from his coffee and tried to think clearly about the situation. Finally, he looked up at Sarah. "What do you want me to say?" "That you should turn down the opportunity of a lifetime to stay here with a guy who delivers furniture for a living?" Sarah's expression flashed with hurt. "Don't do that. Don't diminish yourself or what we have together. This decision isn't about your job or your worth as a person." Marcus immediately regretted his words. Sarah had never made him feel like his work was less important than hers. That insecurity was his own issue, not something she had created. "I'm sorry," he said. "That wasn't fair. I'm just processing this." "I know," Sarah said softly. "I've been thinking about it for days, and I don't know what the right answer is." Marcus reached across the table and took her hand. "Actually, I think you do know. This fellowship is what you've been working toward for years. You can't pass it up for anyone, including me." "But what about us?" Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. It was the question Marcus had been dreading. Long-distance relationships were difficult under the best circumstances, and he wasn't sure theirs was strong enough yet to survive 2 years of separation and the stress of Sarah's demanding fellowship program. "I don't know," he admitted, "but I do know that if you don't take this fellowship, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. And eventually you'll resent me for being the reason you stayed." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "I don't want to lose you." "You're not losing me," Marcus said, though he wasn't entirely sure what he meant by that. "We'll figure something out." They left the cafe that morning without their usual plans for the rest of the weekend. Marcus spent Saturday afternoon driving around the city, thinking about their conversation and trying to come to terms with the reality that Sarah would likely be leaving. By Sunday evening, he had made a decision of his own. Marcus called Sarah and asked if he could come over. When she opened the door to her apartment, he could tell she had been crying. Her eyes were red and she looked exhausted. "I've been thinking about what you said," she began, but Marcus held up his hand. "Let me go first," he said. "I want you to take the fellowship." Sarah started to protest, but Marcus continued. "I mean it. This is your dream, your career. You've worked too hard to get here to let it slip away." "But what about us?" Marcus took a deep breath. "I have an idea about that. It's crazy, and you can absolutely say no, but I want you to hear me out." Sarah nodded, settling onto her couch and pulling her legs up under her. "I've been thinking about what you said months ago, about me not being sure if I want to go back to construction," Marcus began. "The truth is I've enjoyed the delivery work more than I expected, not the job itself necessarily, but meeting people, helping them set up their homes, being part of making their lives a little better." "Okay," Sarah said slowly, clearly not sure where he was going with this. "There are moving companies in Philadelphia," Marcus continued. "Furniture delivery services, home assembly businesses. What if I looked into moving there too? Not right away necessarily, but maybe after you get settled and we see how things go?" Sarah stared at him for a long moment. "You would consider moving to Philadelphia?" "For me?" "Not just for you," Marcus said, though that was certainly a big part of it. "For us, and for the chance to try something new. I've been in the same city my whole life. Maybe it's time for a change." "But your family is here. Your job. Your whole life." Marcus smiled ruefully. "My sister lives 2 hours away and we talk once a month. My job is fine, but it's not a career. As for my life," he gestured around them. "The best part of my life for the past 6 months has been sitting in this apartment with you." Sarah was crying again, but this time she was smiling too. "Are you serious about this?" "Completely serious," Marcus said. "I'm not saying we have to move in together immediately or anything like that. You need space to focus on your fellowship, but maybe I could find work in Philadelphia, get my own place, and we could see where things go from there." Sarah launched herself across the couch and into his arms. "I can't believe you would do that for me. For us." "I love you," Marcus said, the words coming out before he had consciously decided to say them. It was the first time either of them had spoken those words, but they felt absolutely right. "I love you too," Sarah whispered against his neck. They spent the next several hours talking through the logistics. Sarah would accept the fellowship and move to Philadelphia in January. Marcus would start researching job opportunities and visit her once she was settled. If things went well, he would consider making the move permanent sometime in the spring. It wasn't a perfect plan, and there were no guarantees it would work out. Long-distance relationships were still challenging, and moving to a new city was a big risk. But for the first time since Sarah had shared her news, Marcus felt hopeful about their future. The next morning, Sarah called the Children's Hospital Fellowship Coordinator and accepted the position. Marcus put in his notice with Mr. Peterson, who was sorry to lose him but understood his decision. Over the next few months, they spent as much time together as possible, while Sarah finished her coursework and prepared for her move. Marcus began researching Philadelphia, reaching out to moving companies and furniture assembly services in the area. In December, Sarah passed her nurse practitioner certification exam with flying colors. Marcus was there when she got the results, and they celebrated at the same restaurant where they had their first official date. 3 weeks later, Marcus helped Sarah pack her belongings for the move to Philadelphia. As they loaded boxes into a rental truck, he found himself thinking about that first day he had delivered her bed. Neither of them could have predicted how that simple furniture delivery would change both their lives. "Ready for the next adventure?" Sarah asked as they prepared to drive the truck to Philadelphia together. Marcus looked at her. Brilliant, ambitious, kind Sarah who had seen something in him worth taking a chance on, and nodded. "With you? I'm ready for anything." As they pulled away from the apartment building where it all started, Marcus felt grateful for the unexpected turns life could take. Sometimes the best opportunities came in the most ordinary packages, like a furniture delivery on a random Tuesday afternoon. The trick was being open enough to recognize them when they arrived and brave enough to see where they might lead.